Hello and welcome back to the final captaincy video of the 24-25 season, where we're going to take a look at all the necessary stats that you're going to need to decide who the best captaincy option is going to be for game week 38 on paper. Now, last week we went for Ollie Watkins, who finally ended a drought of two blanks in a row, picking up a 10-pointer as our captaincy. Obviously not the best return, only picking up an assist, but as always, a success is a success, and it puts us at a 70% success rate so far for this season, with players getting more than 10 points as a captain. So not too bad. Obviously heading into the final week. Obviously, as it is the last captaincy video of the season, let me know down in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see added into these. Is there any changes that you would like to make? And do you even want to see this heading into next season? So anything that you think could make a little bit of an improvement to the videos, drop it down in the comments. But without further ado, let's take a look at our 4 picks for this week. So there is quite a lot of decent captaincy options this week. There is quite a few players that have missed out, the likes of Ollie Watkins, again up against Manchester United. You've also got, any of your Bournemouth players. Evan Nilsson is a popular one. Obviously Semenyo as well, who could be a decent option. But we are going with these 4 players here on screen. We've got Salah, Saka and Isak, who have been 3 regulars so far this season. We've also got Jared Bowen, who's on great form right now, having scored in his past 3 matches. He is a great fixture against Ipswich away from home, so he is definitely someone that is going to be considered. He's also the top transfer in for game week 38 so far as of recording this. For our other players, Salah's playing at home on the last day of the season against Crystal Palace, who both teams obviously now kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit, having Palace winning the FA Cup, not able to play for anything else in the Premier League, and Liverpool have of course won the league at this point now as well. Arsenal, another team who don't have anything to play for, they have now confirmed second place up against Southampton, who are already relegated away from home. We've got Alexander Isak, who is playing in a fighting Newcastle team for Champions League football. He is the only player of our 4 picks this week to have a match that does really matter to the team. They're playing at home as well, so the atmosphere should be good against an Everton side with nothing to play for. And of course West Ham and Ipswich, again another game where both teams don't have anything to play for this week. As far as the predicted points go on Fantasy Football Hub, it is Salah and Saka joint on 6.8 expected points, so both expected to do fairly well. There is a bit of a gap between Fantasy Football Hub and FPL's team for Saka's prediction. Saka's only got 5.2 predicted points, which is lower than Alexander Isak as well for this week. I think that's obviously going to be very dependent on how Saka gets on with his minutes. For Salah though, he is top as well on FPL team with a 7.1 expected points, which is the highest in the game as well. So that's Salah on top for both sites for this week. Alexander Isak, fairly low in Fantasy Football Hub. Fantasy Football Hub usually has the higher expected points, but he is quite low in the expected minutes, as you will see in the next graphic. But FPL team still has him doing fairly well with 5.4. Then Jared Bowen down the bottom with 5.1 on Hub, which is just a little bit more than Isak, but also agreed with on FPL team with 5.1 as well. So you'll see what I meant with the expected minutes. Alexander Isak only has 61 expected minutes. Obviously, he totally missed out in game week 37 due to that injury that he has been carrying for a long time. And I believe he is booked for surgery over the summer. So we're going to have to wait and see. I think obviously with it being such a big game for Newcastle, it is going to be one that he is going to be forced through. But, obviously we can wait and see what happens with that when it comes to press conferences and stuff, and see what Eddie Howe has to say with that. But as of right now, 61 expected minutes, which isn't really too great. Obviously expecting an early sub there as well. With Bowen and Salah both expected to play the full match, as they always kind of do. Then with Saka, someone who has been, risked with minutes a little bit, rested, brought off quite early. He's given a decent chance here with 77 minutes, which is decent. Obviously against Southampton, you would hope that he would be able to do something in that match. So it is a little bit higher than normal for him, which is ideal. Obviously, XG and XA, Salah is the one leading the way, despite actually blanking and, I think, 7 of his last 8 games, he's been pretty poor as of form recently. He's given a 63% chance of returning, which is the third highest on the list. Obviously, Saka is the one at the top with a 66% chance, and Isak in at second with a 64% chance. So nothing really to differentiate between the three there. They are all pretty similar numbers, but Jared Bowen is only given a 45% chance, which is almost 20% less than our other players, so a big gap in there as well. As far as odds go, trying to differentiate between Salah and Saka, Salah has a 16% higher chance of scoring than Bukayo Saka does. Obviously, when it comes to goals, Saka isn't really, the big monster that he is normally for points. This season, it's been very much assist-based, and of course, he has been injured for a large part of that. But he has been given a 42% chance of scoring, which is a lot less than the likes of Isak and Salah, who are looking very similar this week with 57 and 58%. They're both joint as well for scoring 2 or more goals with 22%, but Salah has the advantage with Crystal Palace having the lowest clean sheet odds this week with only a 9% chance, as opposed to Southampton's 10% chance and Everton's 11% chance. The worst player on the list again is going to be Jared Bowen with only 38% chance of scoring, 9% of scoring 2 or more, and Ipswich are given a 18% chance of a clean sheet this week. Set pieces could also be Jared Bowen's downfall as a captaincy pick, having not been high on the list on the penalty takers list. We have seen it in the past where Bowen is normally like 3rd or 4th penalty taker. I don't think I've actually seen him take a penalty for West Ham. It is still listed as him as the 2nd penalty taker, just behind Lucas Paqueta for West Ham, which is why he is going to be highlighted in orange. The same with the corners, he is like 3rd or 4th on that list as well for corners. However, as far as penalty takers go, as we've seen all season, Salah, Saka and Isak are going to be your 3 main guys, so it does kind of rule out Jared Bowen as a stats based captaincy pick this week, because he's been a lot lower than the other 3 on the stats that we have looked at, and of course not being the penalty taker is going to be a massive factor. As it is the last day of the season, all teams are kicking off at the exact same time at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, so no one plays during the week. We've got none of our players are going to be playing in any of the Europa League final or anything like that. No one was playing on Tuesday's matches either, so we are looking at essentially a full week's rest. Salah obviously played on Monday night. He did get the full 90 minutes on there, but of course he is looking at almost a full week to recover from that, so nothing really to point out when it comes to rest. And finally, looking at the chances conceded, Saka is the one with the best looking opponent. Obviously, Southampton have by far been the worst defence of the season so far, sitting at first for expected goals conceded on 82.3, and they have conceded 84 goals. Comparing that to Jared Bowen up against Ipswich, they are the 2nd worst defence in the league this season. There is a big difference between Ipswich at 71.5 and Southampton at 82.3. So obviously, looking at the chances conceded, Saka's side is the most strong for Southampton, so if you maybe wanted to throw a punt out there, obviously game week 38 is the week that a lot of people like to throw like a last punt in there. Someone like a Martinelli could be good off the left, or a Havertz or Trossard, depending on who starts up front. Southampton have conceded the most chances in the league by a fair amount as well. I'm pretty sure it's Ipswich who are 2nd, and we're looking at about 30 more chances conceded centrally for Southampton. Maybe a Trossard or a Havertz could be a nice differential pick that you could go for, but obviously Saka is still going to be that main guy who is going to be taking penalties. It is just a shame that Southampton are still a little bit more solid down that left-hand side. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, comparing it to the likes of Palace and Everton, they're still looking at 30-40 more chances down that side than anyone else. Now, Salah, who has obviously been at the top for odds and stuff like that, is up against a decent enough Palace defence. They're 12th for expected goals conceded with 50 goals conceded as well. And once again, they are, a little bit more solid down that left-hand side, where they've only conceded 96 chances. But again, still a fair amount compared to other teams. Obviously, Southampton and Ipswich is a hard team to kind of compare them to, but there isn't too many teams that have conceded over 100 chances on the wings. So it is still a decent chance for Salah to do quite well in that. And then with Alexander Isak playing against a good Everton defence, they're the 5th best defence in the league so far this season, with only 44.7 expected goals conceded, and matching that with the 44 goals conceded, 199 chances centrally. Again, Isak isn't really much of an option with the low expected minutes. You don't want to be, throwing your last captaincy on someone who is going to be very low on minutes this week. So we are really looking at Saka or Salah, and the player that I'm going to be going for is going to be Mohamed Salah. I think there is just a couple of extra things in there that Salah does have over Saka this week. Of course, he has the highest for expected points on both sites, and he does have the higher goal odds, but he's also got the higher expected minutes than Saka, expected to play the full 90 as opposed to Saka's 77 expected minutes, and he has the home fixture as well, playing at Anfield, where they are going to be celebrating, of course, the Premier League title. I think it is a day where Salah could do quite well in that. And he is also chasing a lot of records. Obviously, he's had all the opportunities in the last couple of games to, beat a lot of Premier League records that have been set. He has only 2 returns away from the most returns in Premier League history. I believe it's Andy Cole's 47 that does hold the record right now. Salah's on 45. Is he going to go for that record? We're going to have to wait and see, but I think it is going to be worth sticking that captaincy on him one last time this season in his, of course, FPL points breaking record season as well. So Salah is going to be the one that I do prefer over Bukayo Saka this week. Let me know if you do agree down in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching this series over the course of the season. We will be back with it next season, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.